Alrighty, so the impacts of collecting without a break. Now, this conversation isn't one that people like to have, but it is pretty important because I just see a lot of things, I'm in the space myself, right? I collect a lot, I invest a lot. Kind of feels like if you don't buy this particular Pokemon set today or this Pokemon card today, that you are literally at a point where it's now or never. And there will never be another point in history, in time, where you're gonna be able to acquire this card or this set at any reasonable price point, and you're gonna be completely priced out forever. And right now is the only time you can buy, and you better buy it today because otherwise it's completely gone and you're gonna just miss out. That is completely untrue. And I'm actually a victim of that mentality, and I've learned and grown from my experiences of being like that. And that's what I wanna share with you all today. And I wanna take you through in today's video and show you some I want to take you through a pragmatic approach where it can calm you down and actually probably relieve some of that anxiety or that feeling like, oh, if I don't buy this today, it's completely gone, okay? I'm going to be actually walking you through that in today's video. But I just want to say, guys, if this is your first time tuning in, my name's Phil and I'm a marketing professional. I also run this Pokemon investing, Pokemon collecting YouTube channel, and I'd really love to have you on board the channel. So please feel free to subscribe. And my intention for you by consuming my content is that you actually level up in your life. I have a massive passion for personal development, personal growth, personal inventory. I really work on myself, and I hope that some of those books and all the experiences in my life that I've gone through, I can really share through this channel that hopefully really builds you as a character within your life. But this is what I want to go through, guys. Now, so I've been collecting TCGs for a while, actually over 20 years. And I've been quite consistent with Yu-Gi-Oh collecting all the way from 2002, literally till around 2015, I collected Yu-Gi-Oh pretty much full time. And then I got back into Pokemon collecting quite heavily as well. Though here is where it's very important to understand about collecting and how it works. When you are at the point where you're kind of introduced to the hobby, you have a very much of a honeymoon period where you're kind of going through your nostalgia, you're looking through older sets, you're looking through older cards. Now, this is the most scariest point to be in the hobby because you do not have TCG or collecting experience. You are running purely off emotion, meaning you're gonna be looking at that Feraligatr from Neo Genesis, or you're gonna be looking at a Yu-Gi-Oh card that you used to collect as a kid, or you're gonna be looking at a set that you opened or evolutions in 2016, and what you're gonna be doing is you're gonna be buying cards that are literally junk because you're only looking at the nostalgia. Where you really want to sharpen your saw, right? This is from the book of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You want to begin refining your skills in this space where you buy strategically, and there will be some steady price growth in the future, and you're not just buying junk slabs. But here is the issue, and this is where I'm taking you through this video today. You also don't have this crazy time period where you need to buy it right now, and it's now or never. This is such crucial information, guys. And this is, I think everyone that's been collecting in this space has fallen victim to this, where you buy things because you think, hey, I'm gonna miss out. But where I really want to go, before I go into and why it's not even that much of a problem, I'm going to show you that today. But what I really want to let you know. So what if you missed out on a set or missed out on a card and it went up in value? Man, if you do not have the funds, or if you are not in the best financial position to be doing that, and then you start buying these cards haphazardly, dude, do not do that. Just wait it out. And I'm going to be showing you that right now. So here I am on PSA's official website. Now, this is actually one of my favorite ways to look at price data, because what I can actually do is, firstly, you don't have a time period of a year capsule like TCG Player where you can only see, oh yeah, this card sold for this and this, and you can only go for a year. This actually lets you draw back to the beginning when PSA started recording this data, which I think is like 2017 or something like that, right? So you actually can get a very, very long view of how the market's performed. And another reason why I like it is because I can actually select the grade that I want and get the price data from that grade. So I'm drilling into the PSA 10 for the Umbreon here, and I want to take you through, and this one has gone up in value, but I want to really show you why it's not that much of a big deal. Okay? Now, you can see here on the dates, right? I'm just looking at the dates. This is going from when it kind of released all the way to now. So I just want to go take you through what the card is selling for today. So it sold in early 2022 for $1,275. And if you look at the most recent sale price, $1,220. So if you FOMO'd or if you felt like this is going to be out of reach and you bought at that price, well, look at this. You've waited 2 years. The price hasn't even moved at all. Yes, it went down throughout this period here, and you can see it was selling for around $750, $810, and it was consistent. And then you can see even here some sales of like $800, $910. If you're buying these cards and you're just buying them because you think you're gonna run out of time, really, you've only made $300 for something that could have put you in a very difficult financial position. What you're much better off doing is saving the money and waiting for the right time to buy when you are in the right position. And this is very important to know. Like when you really think of it and if you look at it on a very, very long scale, $300, man, or $200, if you pay $200 or $300 more for a card, but you had the funds, that is infinitely better than you getting buy now, pay later services or using PayPal Pay in Full or getting a credit card and buying it because you think I have to get it right now because it's going to go up in value. That yes, it did rise in value, but you haven't missed out on something crazy as well. It wasn't a $1,200 card and it spiked to a $10,000 card. It's gone up $200 to $300 in some circumstances, right? But there's other examples where if you bought in 2021 or 2022, you would have even made a better decision by waiting. I'm going to go through that right now. Next card on the list is the Snorlax Gold card. So this is actually a card that I really wanted. This was kind of like your first chase card of Chilling Reign. So when Chilling Reign came out, Golden Snorlax was a real big hit of a card, which is kind of weird and it's kind of tapered off now. People really more prefer the alternate arts, but when this card came out, whoa man, this was super, super in demand. You can actually see, don't worry about the first sales. Usually the first sales of PSA 10 cards, they're always overinflated. So we're not going to look at that $966 sale because it's not relevant. What we really want to look about is where this stabilization happened here. So you can see that this was selling for around $405, $374. This is in 2021, and then around $380. So the PSA 10, it was having consistent sales around that 380 mark. If you bought at that period thinking it's going to go up, it's going to go up, it's going to go up, look what happened to it. If you look at it right now, if you waited, currently the last sale was $123. So you would have actually made a much better decision by waiting. The card is still here. In 10 years, it's still going to be here. In fact, in 10 years, it's probably not going to even be worth $123 because there's so much out there in the world. You have to have a crazy amount of demand to keep these prices. So you can actually see that the art of waiting would have actually benefited you in this circumstance. So if you FOMO'd during that circumstance thinking it was going to go to the moon, really you just saved yourself quite a bit of money by waiting for this particular card. Moving on to the next one, it is the full art Arceus and Dialga and Palkia GX. This is a crazy card, man. This is a crazy card from Cosmic Eclipse. This one is super interesting. It's also a very desired card. Also, it's got quite a low pop report. Check this one out, right? So during the peak period, if you thought that this card was going to go to the moon and you over leverage yourself, I want to show you what happened. See here, you can see during the peak period, right? $520 for a PSA 10, $405 for a PSA 10, $800 for a PSA 10, $600, $500. This is kind of in the middle of the boom, but still, I want to show you if you FOMO during that period, if you just waited 3 years until you could have saved that money or until you're in a better position, what's that selling for right now? You can see it's selling for the last few sale prices were $376, $461, $400. If you go through this period here, it was still selling for $560. Also, we can't really compare before 2020 because the boom happened. So we're in a kind of new paradigm ever since then. You can't really look at any cards from prior 2020 and compare it to today because there was a paradigm shift, right? It's a completely different landscape, right? So when you look through that, you know, the amount of people that would have been buying these cards as investments back then, very, very small. Now there's a new paradigm shift. Collectibles have entered a new pop culture status. There's a massive different shift that's happened with the mentality of collecting. So we have to usually look after 2020 and after the boom. That's more reflective. I want to keep taking you through, right? Now, here is the Rayquaza Secret Rare. Now, this one is the VMAX alternate art from Evolving Skies. And this one, same thing, man. If you waited, nothing bad would have happened either. Check this out right here. So when this one just came out, you can see the sales prices, $440, $790, $675, that kind of range, around the $500 to the $700 range for a PSA 10 copy. So if you FOMO'd in that period and you're like, you know what, I'm going to take a buy now, pay later loan to buy this card because it's going to go up. Well, guess what it's selling for today? Look at that. It's selling for $560, you know, $560 again, $600. So if you bought it in 2021 or if you bought it now, it's kind of the same thing. Yes, there was a dip, and then if you bought it during the dip, it would have sold, but still, it was selling in 2023 for $485, and currently the last sale price was $580, $560. Really, it's an $80 difference. So now this one is an interesting one, and this is actually a personal experience of mine. I want to share actually a story of how I didn't FOMO, but I really wanted to FOMO, right? So this is in 2021. Yu-Gi-Oh! Released the Ghosts from the Past set, which is a crazy set, man. It has like Dark Magician in a Ghost Rare. It's got like Black Luster Soldier. They're all in these Ghost Rare artworks. They just look absolutely incredible, right? It's a really, really cool set. Super nostalgic, like just amazing set, right? So it had a Ghost Rare Dark Magician, and this Ghost Rare Dark Magician was like, the pull rates of this were just ridiculous. Like to pull this card is like, oh, I don't even know the pull rates. I'll find out and I'll put it down for you here, right? Anyway, I really wanted this card, and I personally thought that this card was going to go really high. Like, I was just coming back into the TCG like full throttle, right? And I'm like, oh, this card's going to go up, this card's going to go up. It's a Dark Magician, it's a Ghost Rare, it's so rare. So I didn't buy the card because it was just way too expensive, but check this out. This is the PSA 10 version, right? This is just a good example. It's a good example for me as well because it shows me, hey, waiting sometimes is the best option. See here, the first sale was 6,100 USD. Then it found some stabilization here at 4.4K, 4.4K as well, and 4.7K. So that's what it was selling in 2021. This is when I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, I really want this card. This is USD, mind you. Check it out. Last sale price for this card was $936. Before that, in 2024, it sold for 1.1K, and before that, it sold for 1.5K. So you can now see that this, looking at this graph, it's looking like it's going to probably level out at around a $700 card, I think, which is pretty crazy considering how rare it is to pull and the fact that it is a Dark Magician, which is one of the most iconic Yu-Gi-Oh cards of all time. Plus it is the old school artwork as well. So, you know, it's not some alternate art or a new rendition. It is the original artwork of Dark Magician. You know, pretty cool and pretty good example of something where I really wanted to buy a card back in 2021, but you can see waiting was a good choice as well. Moving on to the next one. Now, this is another card that I actually bought, and I want to show you, I personally was like, oh, I need to buy this card because it's going to go up. So I bought the PSA 8 Charizard Vintage. This was in 2023, early 2023, right? And I was like, oh, I need to get it now because this is the Vintage PSA 8 Charizard. I don't own one in my collection. I didn't want to get the PSA 9. It was a little bit too expensive. PSA 10 was way too much. I didn't buy the first edition. It was just the unlimited base set Charizard. But you can see I bought this in early 2023. So let's see the prices for this. I'm just checking out now. Here we go. Early 2023, you can see $599, $535. That's what I paid. And I was like, oh, I need to buy it now because it's probably going to spike in value. Well, let's see what it's selling for right now. And it's selling for now, look at that, $520, $560, $460, exact same price as last year. There was no reason for me to go, hey, I need to buy it right now. Ooh, I got to buy it right now. I got to buy it right now. Look at that. If I waited a year, I still could have got it for the exact same price. Nothing changed. Nothing to worry about. Here you go. Good examples, right? Moving on to the next one as well, the Giratina Gold from Crown Zenith. Now, this is an interesting one as well because when this came out, I also thought this is going to be a very expensive card and you got to get it. It's now or never kind of thing. But you can see, look at this. Out of the floodgates, it was selling for $485, $329, $355, you know, $307. If you look what it's selling right now, you know, close to the end of 2024, it's selling for $193, $187, you know, $205. This is the PSA 10 copy of the card, right? So waiting it out and just taking your time is a good decision. Now, this is where, okay, so here's the thing that you also got to understand. Booster boxes, you're probably not going to get as lucky. Usually when booster boxes are out of print, they don't follow the trajectory of sealed or graded cards. They usually have a very slow rise up. So yes, it is true that if you bought Evolving Skies, you know, last year versus this year, it's a big difference. But at the same time, it's how you make a strategy to buy. So yes, sealed product will go up if you don't act on it. It is true, right? But what you really should do is just make a strategy on how you buy. So, you know, it might be a booster box. You know, everything is circumstantial to your circumstances. So if you want to collect booster boxes and you want to build up a sealed collection, don't now go, I'm going to buy every single Scarlet and Violet booster box and just, you know, put down $1,000 and buy every single one in your collection. What's much more better to do is have like a goal. So in Atomic Habits, they have a thing where they like segment your goals, okay? So you can have like, okay, I'm going to buy this booster box today. Then in 8 weeks time, I'm going to get the second booster box. Then in 8 weeks time, I'm going to get Obsidian Flames. And then the next 8 weeks, I'm going to get Twilight Masquerade. So, because, you know, if you're inexperienced and you're just buying a lot of stuff and you don't know the right products to buy, that you're sitting on a very, very weak foundation. combination of the booster boxes or whatever the products you are buying. It's very important to know what to buy as well, okay? It really does bring up on how your goals are in life. So there's also like collecting Pokemon, you know, buying a home, family, kids, marriage, or there's different layers of goals we have in life. So, you know, you got your lower tier goals, you got your mid tier goals, high tier, and then and goals are also separate. There's financial goals, there's parenting goals, there's relationship goals, there's your character goals, who you think you are as a person. There's so many different, we have 12 categories of life, right? So these categories of life, we need to focus and kind of see where our goals are. So maybe you got to find out in what category of life is your collection part of your goal. But then again, what sometimes a lot of people do is they sometimes put their passions and their hobbies, and instead of saying, hey, my health is important, hey, my personal development is important, hey, my intellectual life is important, hey, my emotional life is important. No, they say, you know what? My hobbies are this important, or my career and financial life is this important. But really, we do have other categories in life that we do need to act on. Though one question that's really come up after all this is, you know, collecting cards and collecting on a budget is quite an important skill. And if you're interested on how to collect Pokemon cards on a budget, I do answer that in this video right here. Within this video, I actually look over some of the ways to collect Pokemon cards on a budget. It is very important building your collection, but what's more important is collecting it on a relatively good budget and building a strong collection over a long period of time. If you're interested in that, click that video on screen and I'll see you there.